What are you talking about?
We are live. Hey y'all, hey, we are live for another episode. Just having some real raw and relevant conversations on today. You guys, if you could, for those that's watching us on the live broadcast, take a moment to share, tag, and invite a friend. If you were with us last week, we were talking about where to draw the line, like where. And particularly, we were talking about modesty, outward appearance, and things like that as it pertains particularly to believers. And today we want to continue that conversation. We want to continue that conversation, and we want to talk about it, though, in terms of body image, because there's just so much that's happening regarding body image and things that, I'm just seeing like it's so much pressure to be perfect just on a daily as women. Like never before have I seen the level of pressure in terms of beautification. So let me take a minute to introduce myself, and everybody on this platform is going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into it. So my name is Jo Bulluck. I am a life and leadership coach, all about helping you to create a life you love and really just create a life that you desire and deserve. And so by self-leadership. And so that's a big part of what I believe, and is based on spiritual principles that govern success in your life. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Treal, and she's going to take a minute to introduce herself, followed by Tiara and Myeisha.
Oh, somebody's in the private chat. Oh, hey, everyone. This is Treal Ravenel. Many of you know me as the wife coach. I help wives to win in their marriage against all odds. And in particularly, I also help wives to just level up in every sphere of their life: family, finances, education, career, and things of that nature. So happy to be here.
Hi, I am Tiara Griffin. I am the Healher relationship coach, and I help women who have a lot of childhood junk as far as mommy and daddy issues to really heal that so that they can have successful relationships with God, with themselves, with money, and with others. I want them to heal before they deal with the things in your heart before you bring somebody else along for the journey.
I'm Myeisha Green. I am a middle school education support specialist and youth leader. I work with youth. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right. So you guys, if you was with us last week, we're just kind of having a real raw conversation, just really sharing our heart. So with that, I did have a couple concepts or ideas in mind, but I just want to, first I'm going to just share why I feel like this is such a relevant topic today. Whether it's various pastors, ministers, or people in the secular world, it's hard to, a lot of people that's, let's call influencers, and I'm going to title influencers, people who have more than 100,000 followers or more. A lot of times what you'll notice is a pattern of extreme makeup, extreme AI, and not saying that's the reason they have the following. I'm just saying that there's a pressure for people to perform in terms of their looks, and even like we were talking about last week, having like an edgy dressing, being very sexy, being sexually appealing. And of course, we get into all the things where people want to take it even a step further and decide that they need to get the, I want to call it BBL, Brazilian butt lift, and other things. And I'm going to speak on that. Now, I've never had a desire to get a Brazilian butt lift. By the grace of God, I don't feel like I need one or want one. However, I did at one time wanted to get my nose done. And it was a serious thing that I had contemplated about, at least when I was younger, something I really was focused on because of criticism. And really, it wasn't me, because I'm like, my nose is fine. And my side profile maybe is a little different. I think it still looks fine. But I used to get criticized about it. And so because of other people's opinion, I wanted to put a knife to my body and put myself at risk and cause myself to perhaps make my nose even worse. Because a lot of times when people do go onto the knife, they don't even look as nice as they did before, because it's just something, when you start, Treal says it's the best. She says your most natural state is the best, and it's going to be your most healthiest state. So anytime you try to alter God's creation in that way, you just never know what's going to happen. And I know for me, what I see, with all due respect to anybody who has had procedures done, I've had people in my family who has actually had procedures done. No disrespect to them, but I will say a lot of times I feel like people look worse, or they don't get the outcome I think they were trying to achieve, or I personally feel like they look better without the surgery or the BBLs. And there's so many issues that come from it. So I don't know if anybody else wants to speak on it before we kind of move into it, why they think this topic is important. If you can speak to it. If not, we'll go into one of the questions that we've been pondering this last.
I want to just say, especially what saddens me is when I found out that D.C. Young Fly's mother of his child died. That was, I mean, to think that you can lose your life trying to change your looks. I'm tweetable. Just want you guys to know, but that you would want to, you can die from the procedure. She had 3 kids that she left behind. She left her fiance behind. She left this world behind, all because she wanted a mommy tuck, and her body rejected it. We kind of spoke about it last week. First of all, that's saddening to me. First of all, that was like, I didn't know her. I didn't really follow her, but it was just sad that her kids they no longer have a mother because she wasn't satisfied within herself. And I think that when people try to go under the knife, it is definitely rejection. And like you mentioned a couple minutes ago, it was what people thought about you, what people say. I think that we sometimes take our cues from other people, and maybe for her, she saw something, or even comparing herself to what she looked like in the past, not understanding that you're a mom now, like your body is going to change with this new season that you're in. But I think that is self-rejection. I think that you ultimately don't like yourself. And I think that when someone mentions something about you, there's already an insecurity there. And it just like, you start to change yourself to be more appealing or appeasing to somebody else, because I don't think that a woman that gets any type of surgery, you do it for you. I don't think that is for you. I think that it is definitely for somebody else. And if you say that it's not, at being a relationship coach, even I tell people you have daddy issues. And it's like, they'll fight me all day. Just because you don't know the symptoms of it and how it shows up doesn't mean that that's not what you're struggling with. But I do think that you're struggling with a form of rejection, that now you're rejecting yourself, trying to make yourself more acceptable to whatever you feel like is the acceptable thing to do.
Absolutely. And I want to speak on that. There's I don't know if that's a background noise or something. You guys hear that? I heard something.
You're good now. I don't know what it was,
Okay.
But if it doesn't again, maybe we can mute while you speak.
Okay. Yeah, I want to speak to that as well. So, is it, I don't like myself, or I'm not happy with myself, or is it something else, right? To your point, Jill, a lot of times, as a person, you don't know that there's anything wrong with you. Some people don't know that they grew up in the hood. They don't know that they grew up poor. They don't know that they're ugly by the measure of society until somebody literally says something. So I believe too, T, that is an even deeper issue of what we're teaching our children as a young girl and a young man. Like, what are we teaching them? Are we teaching them this is what beauty looks like? Because there are a lot of parents out here, let's just be honest, that are insecure, and they're teaching their children to also be insecure. Or they're looking at what society deems as beautiful, or what society deems as accepting, and they're teaching their children, be it intentionally or unintentionally, that this is what you need to look like in order to be accepted. This is what you need to do in order to be loved. This is what you need to say in order to belong in this world. And there's so many influences just in itself with young adults and things of that nature now. And just with social media, everything on social media tells you that you have to look amazing all the time. Like, you always have to have a bead. You always have to have the nicest clothes on. If you wear the same thing twice, God forbid. If you have the same outfit on social media, God forbid. So we have believed these lies, these customs, these belief systems that the world at large have taught us. So I think we have to go back to the foundation, to the parents, the grandparents, and others, and teaching our children beauty. Because even yesterday, Karen and I was looking at Whoopi Goldberg. And what were we talking about Whoopi Goldberg? Let's just be honest. That she was not an attractive person. Skin was too dark. Hair was too rugged. Things of that nature. However, Karen and I were looking at her yesterday. We were like, oh my gosh, she is so beautiful. So it also takes a lens change and changing our perspective of what that looks like. And that's why I'm going to speak just for myself. When I say last time, I can't get on live every single time I have my face beat. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to put on makeup every time I go on live or have to record something. It's just too much pressure. I happen to have on makeup today because I went to church. So you just get the leftover right now. But I feel like society is always telling us, this is what you should look like. This is what you should do. If you don't have this, you're not going to be in this crowd. You're not going to, have this community, or you're not going to fit in here. You're not going to fit in there. So we have to change our perception of beauty, of acceptance, and we have to make sure that we're in the right circles and connections with people that are not making us feel like we're being left out. Yeah. Unlearn what you taught. Absolutely.
I think historically too, Black women weren't beautiful. Historically, it was straight hair that was beautiful. Historically, it was blue eyes that were beautiful. So I think in psychology, in my classes now, pain comes from different areas. Not only does pain come from different areas, so does conversation, so does belief, so does reality, I feel like, to a certain degree. But at one point, big noses weren't beautiful. You had to look like a Caucasian woman or a Caucasian to be considered beautiful. So when African Americans started wearing their hair out and we started looking eccentric and being our natural self, there was I keep saying in conversation, but a language. It was a projection that we're not beautiful. This is not beautiful. When you look at this is not the image, not you, friend, but this is not the image of what beauty is. Beauty looks like this. So there was something that, like you talked about, like something that was taught historically and deep down for a long time, that Black women did not believe they were beautiful. And I know for me personally, talk about real and raw conversations, I always knew that I was a pretty girl, but I didn't have no self-worth and I did not have no self-esteem. So I slept around just trying to feel that security and trying to that's the word, the narrative. I was trying to change the narrative that if I am pretty, why are people leaving? Why is this happening to me? Why am I experiencing this? But I think beyond the language and the conversations and the storylines that I was hearing in my family, I think historically as a Black people, we weren't considered the beautiful race. We were considered dogs. We were considered dirty. We were considered ugly. And then when we were naturally like, one thing I don't do, I try not to call people ugly, because like you were born like this. It's something when you could tell somebody like get your teeth fixed or like those can be changed. But when you start talking about people's like body, their face, their complexion, like I believe, and I'm not going to talk too much, but like Michael Jackson, it wasn't beautiful that I feel he was a beautiful Black man before he changed, but somebody told him a story constantly that he wanted to look like somebody completely different because of the narrative that had been fed to us for so long.
Wow, Tierra, you said something powerful, because what I heard you say is saying that you always felt like you were beautiful. And I totally can resonate with not only that at some other points, but I'm gonna go to that first. And in that, what I want one of our takeaways to be is that beauty does not equate confidence. Beauty does not equate self-worth. Beauty does not equate self-esteem. Like you can be fly, you can know you're fly, but that really doesn't say anything about who you are. Actually, I call it the curse of beauty, because a lot of times when you are beautiful, when you are attractive, you're attracting more people into your life. And so now you become even more vulnerable and more receptive to attracting the wrong type of person that may be on that eye level, on that lust level, and just want you for what you had. I believe I said on the last broadcast that Holly Berry said that being beautiful hasn't spared her anything. She still has had broken hearts. She still feels like she's been used, manipulated, mistreated, even don't feel like she's always gotten the best opportunities. So it's like, yeah, being beautiful, maybe I'll get into the front of the club line. Right? Maybe I'll get the guys whistling at me going down the street, or maybe even I'll get all these little comments and people hopping in my DM. But at the end of the day, it's not sparing you nothing. It is just kind of attract more of those things to you. And also, I don't want to disregard the point you're talking about sleeping around in terms of like, I can relate to, because I was looking for love in the wrong place. And a lot of times, whether that's what a lot of times we're looking for love. We're looking for acceptance of other people. Here is why we're conforming. And so I can relate to that, T, doing that and end up with more partners and people than I would have otherwise preferred.
Even more ugly. I was like, this is not it. I'm not getting what I
like, okay, I'm thinking we about to start something and we about to have a connection here. And I just realized you just trying to hit. You just, hit it, how they say, hit and quit it. And a lot of times, and this is going to another conversation, we're going to table this about how people will act away as if they are aligned with you or want you for more than your looks. But at the end of the day, it is an act. And so we got to learn, one, we got to divorce this obsession with our outward appearance as a Black culture. It's a wealth drainer and so many other things. We got to divorce that, such our deep connection and obsession with beauty, and start to really understand that it's really about character. It's really about ideology and mindsets, and so much more than how somebody look. And I get it, because I used to be, they fine, I'm this, I'm that, I'm cute. I still be saying, I was saying I'm cute yesterday, right? And I get it, and we can be cute, but we got to understand that cute really doesn't equate to much more than that.
Yeah. And I didn't believe it then. I like, people would say it all the time to me, but I just knew, I knew I was pretty because everybody said it. I knew I had like a pretty, but I saw all the flaws within myself, but I believe now that I'm beautiful, and I carry myself a whole lot differently than hearing I was beautiful and also believing I was beautiful. Because if I don't believe that I'm beautiful, then I am going to try to do things to make myself more beautiful on what I believe is beautiful. And like, Treal said, we have to change the unlearn, or beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But I think that you first have to behold your own beauty and know what beauty looks like to you. Because me and Mike always have conversations. We also can't take the past us and be like, oh, I don't like this now, I don't like this. And you're filtering it through any past things, any trauma places, any places where you're coming out of. Like, you really need to, I believe you need to sit with God and really ask him to define what beauty is for you. Like purify what the word beautiful meant, because as I said earlier, it comes from a lot of historical torment, a lot of historical trauma, and from familial issues as well. So that's what I will share when it comes to that.
Really quick, I just want to read a couple comments and turn it over to Treal. So,
yeah, I want to say something really quickly, and I want Myeisha to say something because she's been a little quiet too. If the truth be told, let's take a little different approach to this. Most of the people, let me ask the question. Would you say that most people that deal with beauty and image issues did not grow up without a father being present or active? Do you guys think there's any correlation with that?
Yeah.
I do.
I want the audience to answer too.
I feel like it's a yes and a no, because a lot of the kids that I work with in the middle school age, it's like a toss-up. I've seen kids that have both mother and father struggle with like how they look, and you can kind of tell they do things just to kind of like be seen, to be cared for. And then you have the other half where it's like they don't have a mom or they don't have a dad, and you can kind of tell like they're leaning real heavy on their looks to kind of like be accepted or doing certain things to be loved or cared for or to be liked. But I have seen where maybe a kid is getting bullied and people are telling them, oh, they don't look too good. But the kid is just like, I don't care what they say. Like, my people have told me I'm handsome, da 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 da. I'm like, you go, young man. Like, he has people at home telling him he's handsome. He's going to be a handsome young man. They pour into him. So it doesn't matter what anyone on the outside says about him. Like, he does verbalize, okay, it gets frustrating, but I don't care about that. Like, this is who I am. And then you have other kids that they have the mama, they have the daddy, and they say similar things. And yes, like kids who don't have the father in the household, you can kind of tell, like, or they have the father, but the father is not like a strong father figure. He's not affirming them or telling them these things, or the mother's not really that way. So they kind of struggle with how they look. They're trying to follow the crowd. They're trying to get the hairstyles. They're trying to get the sneakers. The girls will, they want to be in the boys' face. They want to be considered cute. And the guys are just wearing the latest sneakers, hats, chains, doing the little dances, whatever they got to do to kind of feel like, yo, I'm beautiful.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? We saw a show the other day, or a post. This man, like, women are trying to change their body. This man literally wanted to grow 6 inches, and he got knee surgery. Yep. He got knee surgery because he was tired of being short. And I was like, so it's not just a woman's thing. It showed up a bit differently because they get enhancers. Again, trying to change a feature about themselves. And I think it's all for that acceptance and that love, like we talked about. I was like, you elongated your, okay, so strange.
Yeah, I love what Myeisha said. I love what Myeisha said in terms of they don't have a father at home that's affirming them. And what I had wrote down was validation, validation, validation. In any and all relationships, there's such a central role that validation plays, validating people's feelings, validating people's identity. And some of you guys may know, if you don't, well, let me tell you, one of the main roles of a father in the household is to validate and to solidify the identity of that child. And even though a lot of, like Maya was saying, there's a lot of houses that have both parents, but sometimes you can't see a big difference. And I want to say, I believe that is because a lot of times that man may either be emotionally unavailable or, with all due respect, emotionally unequipped. And I believe, and this is something I've been talking about, well, at least in back conversations with Treal, is that really the impacts of slavery, even the residue, is still hitting and bucking up against us today and showing up in families with this being men being not equipped. And just parents in general, people, as a culture of people, sometimes we're not equipped to really do that emotional support. And it always goes back to Maslow hierarchy of needs, where they talk about first we got to get the food, water, shelter, and then we got to get security, safety, and then thirdly we get into that emotional safety, which is that love and acceptance. And I believe because we have been enslaved and all the things, and coming from such a struggle place, that we spent so much time operating in 1 and 2, and still a lot of people are, right? But even the people that, let's call it, made it out, people that have those 2 needs met on that chart, that love and the acceptance, we still as a people get to be educated, and we cannot operate in the spirit of pride and egotistic and think we know everything, and think because we have a whatever, it could be a PhD or making this amount and making that amount or having all this education accolades, that means we're socially and emotionally equipped, because a lot of times we're not.
So how do we get equipped? Like, how do we, for those people that are struggling in those areas, because a lot of the times they don't think anything is wrong. That's normal for them to want these things, because some people will get into, well, this is part of my self-care. This is a part of enhancing my beauty. What's the difference between me getting a BBL or me getting some type of cosmetic surgery versus you putting on makeup every single day? So how do we get to that place where we feel more confident about who we are, more accepting about who we are, especially living in a world of social media where everybody is, I'm talking about women per se now, everybody's beat to the gods, like every single time. Your favorite preacher, teacher, public figure, that person is dressed, wearing Neiman Marcus, Gucci, and all of the things. How do you compete against that as a woman in today's society?
I also, maybe somebody on our platform have something to say, but I also want to go to the audience, and I just want to acknowledge some folks that's on today, because we just want to let you know, one, we thank you for joining us live. And I see Kay Elizabeth there, Dana Harris, Leona, Julianne, Mr. Gerald Hightower, and also Sharon just joined. And I know you highlighted Karen comment here a while ago, which is saying, I went from wearing an afro in class one day and a sew-in with my big body curls the next, and a white young man said to me, "Oh, you did your hair." My response was, "My hair is always done." But that goes back to the lack of understanding and this conformity that Blacks went through, because we were disconnected from our roots. We're disconnected from our identity, because the way a lot of Blacks, especially Blacks that was enslaved, like my ancestors, for example, coming here, there was a loss of culture, there was a loss of identity, and we kind of had to retrain ourselves. So if you guys in the chat can answer Treal's question, which is, she's kind of like, okay, now what? How do we identify if we're inept, and what do we do about it? I'll take up. Tira, go ahead.
I was going to say just really quickly, I think we talked about last week motives, and when you get the BBL or where you wear makeup to be the accepted, or because you want to be loved, or when whatever is your I do this because reason, I feel like if that is rooted in anybody else, then I think that you should take another look at it. Like one young lady, I saw a post a couple weeks ago, and the guy was like, why do you keep getting makeup and why do you get your hair done? She said, I just feel pretty. And people were like, you're gaslighting her because why are you coming against her because she's saying she does these things to be pretty? I was a little bit torn about that because why can't you just be pretty? Like when I get my hair done, I do feel better. But even when my hair is in a sloppy ponytail, I still feel pretty. I still feel like, okay, like I've never thought, let me wear the makeup to be pretty. We only wear makeup, like honestly for me, I don't wear makeup and I hate my skin. I'm just gonna be honest. And people also call it out. So at one point in my life, I would put on makeup because I was tired of people calling out something that I already know. I already know it's a flaw. I hate it myself. So I don't need you also mentioning it. So I started wearing makeup to cover it. But then I was like, who the heck cares? Like, this is my face. I hate this, but I don't want this caked up and making it worse. But she was like, I just do it because I want to be pretty. And I was just like, well, why can't we just be pretty? Like, why can't you just be pretty within yourself? I know it enhances it, but when you do it because of it, I think that that's when it becomes an issue. Like we wear makeup. I wear makeup at a wedding because you're supposed to wear makeup at a wedding. But if I didn't have to wear makeup, or if I don't like lashes. I don't feel like it enhances my eyes. I'd be like, Gigi, please don't put these lashes on me. Like, I don't want to look like a bird. I do not want to fly away with these lashes today, Gigi. I really don't. But when she puts it on, it does enhance. But I want us as Black women to have the epitome of, even with the nothing, I'm okay. Like, I love the whole Alicia Keys movement. I just like how she's just like, I'm okay. I don't need this to keep up with any Joneses or with any type of society. So I don't want to answer also the question about competing, but I do want to go back. I feel like this conversation on slavery is so very important because they started to define slavery. And in the words of Maxine Waters, we need to reclaim our beauty. We have to reclaim our beauty as Black women. We have to reclaim what beauty means, because for so long, again, people have been telling us what this is and you got to cover this up or whatever the case may be. But we need to do a movement of reclaim your beauty, because that somebody else can't define it. Because if we were in Africa and we had our queenly and royal priests, our royalty on, we would have never thought we were ugly. That wasn't a conversation that we were having. Because even there's tribes in Africa, they have those big things in their lips and their ears. This is what they do because this is what they define. So we have to have our own definition of beauty and kind of stick to it. So that's what I would say.
And I think too, it boils down to you have to, if you're somebody who struggles with that.
Oh,
what happened?
I don't know.
Oh, did it go out?
Sorry, okay. The computer went off.
I think it boils down to you being honest with yourself. If you're someone who struggles with that thing, because there's if you struggle within yourself, you're not going to be able to keep up.
Ooh,
you're not
again.
You're not going to be able to keep up, because speaking from personal experience, when I first came to Christ, coming out of the lifestyle that I came out of, I was at the time dating women. I had been a tomboy all my childhood. I was always with my boy cousins, always with my brothers, and it just felt natural to be around men because, to be honest, I didn't have a lot of female figures in my life to take time. My mom was always working. That's, no shade on her, but she did the best that she could. But no one was like taking me to the side and say, hey, let's play with dolls. Let's have a girls' day. So that stuff was really foreign to me. And my mom was just basically, she's a working woman. So business casual all the time. And me being a kid, I'm like, I don't want to dress like that. You know what I'm saying? So, and then of course I had some homegirls growing up where we would, wear a little heel. We was being grown. They was like showing me the wrong, like, like hoochie mama, showing the body. So, I would like that sometimes, but it just always felt weird because it just didn't feel like me. But because I didn't have anybody pouring into me and like kind of like setting that standard for me, saying, hey, you're a young lady, you should dress like this, you should look like this. And, adding the childhood trauma and stuff like that. Once I got to the age where I was just like, okay, well, how do I dress? All these women are half naked. All these women are wearing makeup and lashes, and I really just don't fit into this. So started talking to women, and I'm dressing like a guyish. When I came to faith, I had this huge dilemma. Like, okay, So I gave my life to Christ, but what do I do now? And what I really had to do was, okay, what does God say? Who does God say I am? And am I dressing in this way to please him, or am I just kind of just doing what I want to do? But the more I spent time with God and I renewed my mind according to the word, the Holy Spirit began to change me from the inside out. And I began to want to explore my more feminine side. And I had women that came along and was like, okay, sweetheart, let's do this. At one point I did struggle with like the dresses and the skirts, because I was just like, I started wearing it because they was like, this is what women in church should wear. And you should wear this because you're a woman. And in my mind, I'm like, well, am I not beautiful because I'm not wearing a dress? Or should I just be wearing this for y'all? I really don't want to wear it. And then God really had to deal with me. First, you need to be honest about what you think is beautiful. Do you think you're beautiful? Are you wearing this to please people? Are you wearing this just because it's what they're telling you, or because this is really your style? And after a while, I had to go through this process of trying to figure out what made me feel beautiful. At the time, I think I had locks or whatever like that. I thought that was really dope. I liked it. And people say, yeah, that's just like a bad look. I'm like, eventually it just turned into, okay, but it's what makes me happy. This is what I like, So you have to really be honest with yourself and be okay with yourself, because if you try to just do it on your own, it's just not going to happen, because you're going to constantly see women on these on these music videos, on these stages, on these platforms with their hair and the lace fronts. And if that's not who you really are, trying to keep that up, like it's just basically on the outside, you're going to be smiling. Yeah, you're not going to be happy. So I really like people who can really embody their own sense of style and just walk in that. Like, I don't know if y'all know, I know on Treal, follow her, Sade Martin. I love Sade Martin because she's her authentic self. And she's a big girl. And she can't, like, a lot of people come in her comments like, oh, don't you think you would be more beautiful if you lose weight or you grow hair and all this other stuff?
She maybe has her glasses in her sneakers.
Baby be rocking her stuff. She loves herself. She walks in that, and that is beautiful to me. So it really just starts with you owning yourself and accepting yourself and walking in that, because you're never going to be able to keep up with all the stuff that's coming out. It changes way too much. Because when I was in school, being bald head was not cute. I got bullied because I ain't had no hair on my little head, and now I see all these women walking around here with the little stuff kick off their head, and I'm like, my God. Oh, it's cute now? All right, bet.
It just changes too much.
Yeah. So you can't keep up with these people, man. You can't. You just got to be yourself.
So I want to look at this scripture. I want to hear from, the audience and answer that question. Like, where do at what point, who's going to teach us? How do we elevate to that place of self-confidence and self-belief? Because we have so many things around us. We have culture, we have environmental, we have familial, we have all of these things that are competing. But here's what the Bible says about what our responsibility as, and when I read this, older women, I'm not necessarily referring to those of age older women. I'm referring to more spiritual. I believe this is what Titus was referring to. The older as in the more mature. So it says Titus 2:4-8, the New Living Translation says, these older women must train the younger women to love their husbands and their children, to live wisely and be pure, to work in their homes, to do good, and to be submissive to their husbands. Then they will not bring shame on the word of God. In the same way, encourage the young men to live wisely. And there are different variations. This just is the one that I caught, just typing it in. But more importantly, there's a version that talks about just teaching the younger woman the way. What is the way? Even when it comes to dressing, even when it comes to stewardship and things of that nature, those that are more wise in the word of God, more spiritually mature, we should be teaching. But we see nowadays that those that are considered or should be spiritually mature, I don't see the teaching, because you're teaching me to,
Yeah. I love that you put that in there, though, because I really do. I don't know if I was talking to you about it. I said I would really love to see more older or more seasoned people teaching younger saints or people who may not be familiar with that type of stuff, because we have to meet in the middle. Like, you get too extreme sometimes. It's like these young people or these people just dressing any kind of way. And then you got the other people like, well, I don't necessarily know, or maybe this is what I feel is beautiful. Like, instead of like going at my neck about it, like, teach me, talk to me, communicate with me. Because for me, like, one, I didn't grow up in church. So I literally was like a baby in Christ. I didn't know that you shouldn't have your arms out and your thigh out. You know what I'm saying? Like someone had to come and be like, hey, baby girl, like, you cute or whatever, but you might want to bring that down a little bit. Or when you do wear stuff like that, wear something over your shoulders. Like if you know what I'm saying? Like they took time with me. They had grace with me. And like you just did, like you pointed me, they would point me back to scripture or pointed me back to like what it means to like carry myself as a young woman of God. And oftentimes people don't get that. So yeah.
If the audience say anything, because I wanted to add to that.
Not yet. And I want to, so for those that are interested in that verse, go to Titus 2, start at verse 3. Well, really start at verse 2, because it says, teach the older men to be temperate, worthy of respect, self-control, and sound in faith and love and endurance. Likewise, teach the older women to be reverent in the way they live, not to be slanderers or addicted to too much wine, but to teach what is good. Then they can urge the younger woman to love their husbands. So initially, it does start off saying how the older women are to teach them to have, an attitude and be more control and more sound and things of that nature. So I do encourage individuals to go back and just read and study that scriptural verse. And it's not saying that anyone is perfect or because you've been saved, you know it all. No, but I can teach you, like you said, you didn't know you can go in church with your leg out or arms out. And some people still argue with that too, right? When you get to a certain level, because I've seen things, as recent as today, you see things and you're like, okay, if you're at this level of maturity, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you've been saved for 20 years. If you are mature in the word, if you're mature in God, why are we still making these same type of decision? Then that begs the question, are you really mature? Yeah. Because and I know you want to say something, Tara, but even going back to the conversation last week, God is going to tell you what you should and should not do, what you should and should not wear. Like even today, I wanted to wear stockings because I had on a shorter dress. It wasn't short.
Oh, the stockings.
The shorter dress. And the reason why I wanted to wear stockings, because I hate stockings, absolutely. But I was in the pulpit. I was one of the pulpit. I was sitting on the pulpit. I had to preside today. And I wanted to be modest, and I wanted my attire to show as if it was not clergy attire, but I wanted to make sure that I looked presentable. Some people may argue, well, what does presentable look like? If I'm in the midst of dignitaries, I'm in the midst of spiritual leaders, my apostle, my pastor, I don't want to be up there just looking fool. I mean, that's just me. But somebody else may feel comfortable going up there with a mini skirt on. My personal opinion and conviction is to make sure that I'm reverencing Christ and my leaders, even in what I put on. Mm-hmm. Especially if I'm in the pulpit and in front of the entire congregation, because the entire congregation can see me, right? I ended up not wearing the stockings because they were slipping in my shoes, and that would have been a disaster if I failed. So I had to take them off, but I had a covering, and I put it across my lap. I think that's appropriate. Some people would not do that. They would just sit up there with their skirt on. I'm fine as long as I keep my legs closed. Well, I have a tendency to open my legs. And then I don't want to tempt anybody, because the Bible does tell us about that too. Like, don't cause anybody else to fall into any level of temptation. It doesn't matter how saved you are. If you're a man in the audience, I'm a very beautiful young lady and my legs are all out and you looking at my legs. I mean, come on. I'm just saying.
That's good, Treal. That's good. I have, Sharon saying, knowing who you are is absolutely key. I have a couple of things. I don't know if I'm going to get all in, but let me go here first. One thing, as you were speaking, I was thinking we need to, like you were saying, we have to redefine the beauty of our body and what's acceptable, because we've gotten so far off. And this is nothing new to the Black culture. We went through this with the relaxers, right? Where everybody was getting their hair relaxed, everybody was getting their hair straightened. And it took some very bold people within the community to start having some radical change in ideology, to making natural hair not only acceptable, but a symbol of beauty and something to embrace. And we get to do the same thing about our body. And it's just, I also want to say this. I believe I'm calling this term in this moment. I haven't heard this before. I believe that right now we're in a social identity crisis, a societal identity crisis, particularly in the Black community, because we're constantly allowing, whether it's consumerism or certain things, to just push all this stuff to us that, hey, you want this, this is what beauty is. And so it's Hollywood. It's just so many things that's setting the standard and trying to set a standard and define standard of beauty and saying, this is what we desire. This is what we desire. And then it puts pressure on people to conform. Like, I'm even thinking about with lashes. I do like lashes now. But I can remember it was like for 7 or 8 years, I did not care for them. I had the same view that you had, T. But I have to be honest. Now it's been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. Like you said, with all due respect to all makeup artists and all the other people are constantly pushing and pressuring you. Oh, it's not going to look that bad. Oh, it's not going to be that much. And then they put these super dramatic things on you. You're like, oh, that's too much. And they put something a little calmer. You're like, oh, okay, that's more like it. And so now you done sold it to the woman for $200 with the lashes.
Right.
Like the dude from Sesame Street.
I get it. It is a real pressure. I'm scheduled to get some lashes done this week. With that being said, there still is some concern with it because just like with the relaxer, we don't know the long-term impacts of getting lashes. Because when you do get it done, for those who haven't had it done before, that chemical is extremely strong and toxic, and they have to do something to conceal it to try to reduce the fumes that's omitting from this glue that they're putting on your lashes by your eyes. So again, there's so much risk, unknown things about all this conformity. And so we have to be very careful. Like I said, I'm scared to do it, but I've had some hesitation. I'm thinking about this, like, should I do it? All these things. But there is.
You're talking about permanent. To clarify for the people. You're talking about permanent.
Differently. I'm sorry.
Jill,
go ahead.
I was just telling you to clarify because you're talking about something permanent. The dye is what you're referring to, right?
No. Oh, you're talking about Myeisha Green. No, I ain't getting that. I thought about that too, but I'm a little scared, so I ain't getting that because some of this impact your fertility too. So no, that's something different, Treal. I think you're talking about microabrasion. That's when you do your eyebrows, a permanent tattoo on your eyebrows. That's one thing, and then the lashes. The lashes is when they go in and they can do a 1-for-1 lash and put one lash on top of your lash, and they're gluing it on there. But you know how small your lash is. So what kind of super glue do they have that glue is going to stick to each individual lash? It takes like 2.5, 3 hours. That's what I'm referring to. It's not permanent. It stays on for about 4 to 6 weeks.
That's pretty long. Yep. Were you done?
I'm done.
Oh, so I remember when I was a kid, I have a couple things to say. When I was a kid, I remember I used to cry when my mom used to put weave in my hair. And I remember going to a wedding, like maybe elementary school, because I did not want that weave in my hair. And I am also a kind of person, I don't like anything fake. I don't like fake. I mean, like the Brazilian hair, like when that was a whole trend in college, it was breaking off my hair. Like, we got to understand that the things that they're introducing us to may have some consequences, may have some side effects that you may not know of. I mean, that Brazilian, you're adding hair just to break off my natural hair. But I don't like the fake lashes. I might get weave, but this is like protective styles because I have a whole lot of hair, but I'm not doing it for any other purpose besides I need to tame my hair, and I want to also look cute while I'm doing it. But no offense to those that got it, but to be honest, let's call a spade a spade. It is fake. When you get a Brazilian butt lift, you are moving fat from a different area to add to what was not naturally there. And then when your body starts rejecting it, there are consequences to it may not affect Myeisha the same way it may affect me, but I don't want to get in a situation where I now have to live with some type of defect or some type of like side effect that I could have avoided had I just accepted how and who I was. And last but not least, I think that I believe everybody on this platform can agree that beauty is beyond physical. You can have a beautiful mind. You can have a beautiful character. You can have a beautiful conversation. There's like, what's it called? Sapiosexuals. You can fall in love with somebody's mind. And I think that is also a form of beauty. But going back to like our bodies, man, we feel like if you have the mindset of I'll be beautiful when, we need to have a conversation. I'll be beautiful when I get my butt done. I'll be beautiful. T.I.'s wife got permanent contacts. She bleached her eye color. What are we doing? Like, I'll be beautiful when I get this, or I'll be beautiful when I get my teeth done. I'll be beautiful when I get a bigger butt. Now, they tell us we can't build a man. I'm sure you cannot build the perfect body.
People try.
I'll say it again for the people in the back. If you cannot build a man because you're building him off an idea, because when I was trying to build a man, I was taking Bobby, John, and Joe, and I want Joe's eyes. I want Bobby's six pack. I want his this. I want his money, his job. It is an idea. It is not real. And I'm going to even go a little bit deeper to add some more Bible to this. I've been reading the whole Bible through chronologically. If you've never done it, you should try it. I just love the whole perspective of it. And what has been hitting me is God has been dealing with me about idolatry. And back in the day, they would bow down to constructed gods, statues that they would erect, and they would also bow down to images. And God says, now we don't do that, but he did say that you are forming images and putting images in high places. So when I believe getting to a more, for those that are more mature and been with God for a long time, when you start lifting up this image that I got to have a bigger butt, or I need bigger breasts, or I need bigger this, or I need bigger that, you are lifting up an image above what God has created. We kind of talked about it last week, and it becomes a form of idolatry that you're willing to cut yourself open up or off in order to align to this image. It's not real. If we cannot build a man, you cannot build a body. No matter what you do, like you said earlier, you can change your nose, but what if the nose still doesn't look like what that picture? I can go to somebody and be like, braid my hair. This is the picture. And it's always like a rendition. It is never like the picture. And I'm glad that I asked you, the part is too far. I know what I asked you for. So if we can't, if when God made us, the only reason why we're not perfect is because of sin. But when he was forming us in our mother's womb, it was perfect. So I feel like when we start to get into the idea of let me do this, and when I do this, then I feel like we have stepped into a form of idolatry, because you've lifted up an image beyond what God thinks about you, and even what you should be thinking about yourself. So we talked about it earlier. It's much deeper than just the BBL. It's while you're doing it, do you believe that you'll be beautiful when this is done? And why not before? Like, last thing, like when people lose weight at the gym and different things like that, the reason why you don't stay motivated is because you already don't love yourself already. So you don't stay motivated to keep going to the gym because your identity and your self-acceptance of yourself is not already there. So it's not going to come after the fact. It's because you love yourself, you go to the gym. It's because I love God, so he loves me. We have to stop putting the cart before the horse and let the actual horse drive us.
Oh, it's here. You see
Jill, real quick, say something real quick. Comments in here I wanted to mention, because both Karen, Kay Elizabeth, and Julie Ann say that they like the lashes makeup in here, but it doesn't make me who I am because I wear it. And I absolutely agree with that. And I'm right there with you, Julie. I have locks, but a lot of times I put on my wig, just different things like that. And I believe that's the difference, right? And I just want to say this conversation is not to make anybody feel bad or to shame any person. This conversation is more so to help encourage individuals, our beautiful Black woman, to feel more confident, more whole, and more accepted in who they are. Now, if you do the lashes and things, that's fine. But even if you don't, you're fine too. So I just wanted to say that, because I don't want anybody to say, well, man, I feel shamed or I feel bad, or should I not be doing this because I am a believer? No, that's not what we're saying. But what we are saying is that who you are, who God created you to be, your whole, your authentic self is perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You do not have to add anything or take anything away, unless, like Tara mentioned, going to the gym, if it's unhealthy, absolutely take it away. But you don't have to remove anything or to add anything to yourself. You are perfect just the way you are. So I just wanted to say that really quickly.
Awesomeness. So what I was going to say is, Tara, what you said is something that we really need to ponder and really think about, which is this, like a form of idolatry and how we're participating in that from an individual level. What I was thinking is, you were saying was people are thinking, when I do this, then I'll feel beautiful, or maybe I'll feel confident. And what happens, because we'll see, you know, I'm not going to call, we're trying not to call any names, but we do know whether it's celebrities, saved or unsaved, who has gotten multiple, almost like they become obsessed with trying to correct to a certain destination. And even I know somebody who just got like one under maybe once or twice. And what they realize is that going under didn't achieve the results they wanted.
Emotionally.
Right. Because what's happening is a lot of times people do think, when I do this, then I'll accept myself, like myself better, be more accepting. But the truth of the matter is, self-acceptance isn't a physical game. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Self-acceptance is not about your physiological being. It is really an ideology thing. So what's happening is we're taking something, an ideology thing, our mind, the way we think, and we're trying to overcome it with a physiological solution. And I'll tell you now, it doesn't work every time. And not only I would say it's an ideology thing, it's also a spiritual thing, because anytime somebody is competing, anytime your identity is under attack, you best believe it is something spiritual that is working against. So we get to think about that. And really we need to think about, like Tara was saying, how far are we taking this thing, what we're doing with our bodies to try to beautify ourselves? How often are we doing that? And what's the why, the motivation? Like what results are we hoping to achieve? And really be honest with ourselves. Are we doing it for ourselves, or are we doing it for others? And one of the ways that we can measure that, if you don't necessarily go get a full beat and sit in front of your TV and watch TV and don't turn on a live video or anything else, that may be indicative that you're doing it for other people. Because as soon as you get an audience, right, whether that's audience is your spouse or whoever, then you want to reinvent and recreate yourself, then you could be doing it for other people. And I admit that I've been guilty, right? Because I don't walk around with makeup all day in the house just on GP. Sometimes I will put on a little something just to, you know, especially if I had a long night, I didn't get my sleep as I want. I'm like, oh, you know, I don't want to look raggedy or whatever. But a lot of times, with that being said, a lot of times the imperfections, come on, Holy Spirit, a lot of times the imperfections are the things that we perceive as imperfections, or the things that we don't like, are the fatigueness and the wear on our face is a lot of times because of a health issue. Can we be honest? It's because of what we're eating. It's because of the lack of sleep. It could be because of the things we're doing and not doing that is manifesting itself in our body. And hence the bags under the eyes, the blackening. I don't believe it's just about aging. I mean, some of it's, yes, aging. Okay, got it. But some of it is about lack of proper self-care and taking care of our body in a way that we're making sure that we're doing the things on a natural level, spiritual level, ideology level, to take care of ourselves at the highest and best level. And we're bringing in these substitutes to augment our self-neglect or our self, you know what I mean? That's not doing what we're supposed to be doing for ourselves.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Somebody had a question. I think Auntie Kay, what do you do when you've already had the procedure? That's a really great question, and I don't have an answer.
So I've seen there's a movement of people who are detransitioning, right? They were once a woman transitioned to be a man, or they were once a man transitioned to be a woman. And a lot of them now are detransitioning. But the one consistent thing that I've always hear them say is, I was already okay the way I was. Now it's just me accepting that I've had this. Now I have to go through this process and backtrack. But it starts with me acknowledging that I'm a man or I'm a woman, and I was beautiful just like how I was created. So I think that, not to that extreme, like if you got the BBL or you got your lips done, you got your face done, you have to now do the work to say, okay, yes, I made this decision, but now I'm working on healing me and getting to the root of why I did this thing. Because it wasn't just because I wanted to self-care and do all this stuff. No, it was deeper. Maybe I felt more beautiful with the lips or with the butt. But why? Was it because my dad left? Was it because maybe I got abused as a child and they told me I was ugly my entire life? You have to now get the root issue so that now you don't continue to walk in getting all these things to make yourself feel good. I remember, I don't even remember what the woman's name was, but she had so much plastic surgery. I mean, she would just keep getting it, and still was not satisfied. And ultimately, I think she realized, and she regretted that, I wish I would have just loved myself first. So I think if you got it already, work on figuring out how you can heal, how you can start loving yourself more so that you don't have to keep doing that, you know?
Yeah. And don't as a result of shame and guilt at that point. I don't know why he's doing that. At that point, it's already done. So it's very, you have to be careful not to walk in shame and shame yourself for the decisions that you already made, because some of these things will not be reversed. I know one, I think was it in Black China, that got some work done, and she started taking out the injections and things of that nature. Some people may be able to afford that. Some people may not be that serious. At this point, it's already done. But like Myeisha is saying, just at this point, learning to love who you are, aside from the work that you've gotten done, and work on that healing. And like Karen's saying, it's always deeper, deal with the surface and make surface decisions from that point. That's right, Servetta, self-love at that point. And in high, I would say even working with someone, be it a counselor or a coach, someone can help you to walk in that place of self-love and self-acceptance.
Right. Muted.
Kate said something else. She was saying she dropped in emotional, and that just hit my spirit. Like, that's him, as Mr. Geddes would say, right? That's him. Emotionally, a lot of times, because of the generational trauma that we've experienced, we are, again, it's about identity. It's about loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, and our fathers not being there because they were used to not being there. So now when they get an opportunity to be there, they're either there and don't know how to be, or they decide not to be, because that's what the legacy, unfortunately, has been. And a lot of it's to no choice of ours, at least prior to now. But what came to me in that emotional, it was like, this is trauma again, rearing its ugly head at every turn. And so we get to we get to deal with that on an individual level and really dive in. One of the things I also want to say is sometimes because when we don't, what happens is we think when I do this, when I get the butt, when I get the lips, when I get the lashes, or whatever, when I whatever, and we do it, what I see sometimes people become even more sad, lack their satisfaction actually decrease, and may even go into depression, because now they got it and
I'm still not happy, still not satisfied.
Yeah.
This still didn't work.
Because and another thing came to mind while
I really felt that in this. I really felt that.
Like, also, to I'll even add in there, you have to go back and address the lies that you believe made you believe that you weren't beautiful or that you looked a certain way. Like, you might even have to trace it back to your childhood and say, what was I hearing, or what was I telling myself? Because I remember as a little girl, like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't like the most feminine. After a while of playing outside with my brothers and all this other stuff, like, I wanted to play football and all this other stuff. And I remember people telling me, as adults, grown people were telling me, oh, she just want to be a little boy. She don't want to be a little girl, or she going to be a tomboy, or she going to be that. Like, I even had grown adults was like, oh yeah, she going to be gay. And as a kid, you just sitting in that, like, maybe I am this way. Maybe I should lean towards this way, because people already believe it. People are already, so you need to go back and dig up those lies. Maybe you had maybe you had like a skin condition. Like, my sister has eczema, and she's a very beautiful young lady. She doesn't struggle with that, but I've seen people with eczema like really struggle with skin. They'll wear makeup, they'll put on all this stuff because people tell them, oh, your skin looks nasty, or your skin looks like this, your skin looks like that. But they're a very beautiful individual. So they got something done to their skin, where I've seen people do like the chemical peels and all kinds of extreme things. Now that you got it, now you're still not satisfied. You still don't feel beautiful. Now you know that it's more than just a physical thing. You need to go and uproot that. I had to go and uproot that. Like I even mentioned earlier how I struggled for so long, like, because I couldn't, like, every other female that I was around had long hair. And here I am struggling to grow hair. And I'm like, man, what is this? So people making fun of me because I had shorter hair, and me getting the braids eventually, me getting the weaves and still not feeling beautiful. And I had to go back and say, you know what? Who told me this stuff? I didn't wake up and say I'm not beautiful right off the bat. It was people telling me this. I don't have to accept it. Now I need to go back and say, if I have to wake up every day and say, I am beautiful, I am beautiful, I am beautiful with my short hair, I am beautiful in my skin, I'm beautiful with my, that's what you need to go back in and do. Even if you have to trace it all the way back to your childhood. Can I add to that?
Please.
I'm gonna add to that, and then I'm gonna, I think we're wrapping up. But Dr. Faith always says something. She said, whatever you rehearse becomes your reality. So Myeisha just said it. You have to, if you've already done it, it doesn't become true because you say it one time. You begin to accept the truth. So constantly, I am beautiful. You tell yourself this because you may have not have heard it. So it may seem foreign to you. It may seem like a lie, but you keep rehearsing your truth. And then last but not least, you mentioned something out, Jill, that I'm still not satisfied. I've done all of these things and I'm still not satisfied. The two things that came to mind is like, I did a message before on the deficiency. It is a deficiency that you are so negative. You are in the red. Like here is ground zero. Your identity, your self-esteem is so low down here. So you keep adding. You just keep adding. You keep adding the fillers. You add the makeup. You add the lashes. You add the BBL. And you're like, why is it not lifting me up? It's because you are so deficit. It is almost like you are a cup with holes. And the more people pour into, no, you are beautiful. No, you are handsome. No, man, you don't have to get that. It all just seeps out because I have holes, and it will never be enough because you have holes. It will never be enough because you're not filled. It will never be enough because you're already not complete. So you have to find a way. And the only way that I know is the Holy Spirit. The only way I know is Christ. God, fill my holes because I am void. I am deficit. I need, God, I do not feel beautiful. And it's not that I am not. It's because I have been told lies all my life. It's because my father has left me and I am wounded. And this wound has turned into an infection that has gone from my mind to my physical appearance. Have y'all ever heard of a natural disease? I think it's called dysphoria or dysphoria, where there is nothing wrong with you, but you see a deformity in you. But ask God to begin to heal that. If you've already done the surgery, okay, but God, I am still holy. I not holy like I'm set apart. No, God, I am still full of holes and I need you to fill me because everything that I try is not enough. After I get the surgery, he still don't love me. After I get the surgery, I still didn't get the job like Halle Berry. After how beautiful I am, he still cheated. After how beautiful I am, I still didn't get to promotion. So God, if you don't fill me, I'm going to keep trying to become something that is not real. And I'm going to eventually vanish. And I'm going to eventually disappear. I'm going to eventually be so disassociated from myself that I don't even recognize myself. So God, tell me who I am. Fill my void so I am enough. The reason why you keep trying to fix it is because you don't feel like you are enough.
That's powerful.
I feel the Holy Ghost on that one.
Terry, I'm gonna need you to drop your cash out in the chat in case somebody wants to.
Because the Lord told me, and so you are holy, not set apart. You are so full of holes. You are so full of holes, and it's not enough because everything just keeps dripping out. Because you have, I don't know if y'all can see the picture that I'm seeing right now. You have so many holes, many holes. Woo!
Yep.
That was powerful. I'm serious about that, Tia. Drop your Cash App, your Zelle, or what have you, in case anybody want to sew. I think Tia Matrella, I don't know if yours is up there too, Myeisha. the same church, but there's always a great opportunity to sow, especially if you really resonate with something somebody said on the platform today. I definitely encourage you to do so. That's always a blessing to bless others. And I just want to double down on what Tiara and Myeisha just said, is we get to fill our cup first with the Holy Spirit and with our own affirmation. Too often we're playing a recording from people of the past, situations of the past, and we get to start creating our own new recordings. And I do it till this day, right? And I would say to the person who maybe already had surgery, I would encourage you to stand in the mirror, well, all of us, stand in the mirror if you need to. If you got your natural body, stand in the mirror and just loving yourself, hugging yourself, say, I love you, I accept you, except I love my extra belly. And if you don't, say, okay, well, I like this, but we're going to, I'm going to do my little extra sit-ups. I'm going to cut back on the sugar. I'm going to cut back on the carbs, whatever the case may be. But love yourself where you are right now today. If you have this surgery, I want to challenge you to not even look at that part and don't idolize that part. Look at yourself from the chest up or from your neck up and just speak to yourself here and know that you're loving yourself because of what's inside of here. In your heart, who you are, your mind, your soul, not because of your body, because we get too caught up in that and we be running out. How about that?
Yeah.
Running all the way out.
Yeah.
And I believe that God is really saying to us, enough is enough, y'all. Y'all doing too much. And last week I read a scripture. I don't remember exactly what scripture it was, but it was talking about, we shouldn't wear fancy adornments and earrings and all of that. And the truth is, and this is a whole nother conversation, maybe we can have a conversation next talking about the cost of conforming, because the truth of the matter is such a wealth drainer. To think about how much money, I think I would like to talk about this, but I'll talk to the rest of the folks trail and see what we're going to talk about. But I'm just thinking about the amount of money that we put into lashes. Here, my hair costs $250. I didn't want to pay. I'm like, how much? Come again? What? Yeah. $250. The amount of money we pay in clothes, all this stuff is really just taking our wealth. Right. And we know as Black people, particularly, we are some of the largest consumers. And the sad reality is many of us don't have $1,000 in our savings account, but we wearing $1,000 on our back. That's what my pastor said one time. We got more money on our back than we have on our bank account. And it's not the way we want to live, because we got to keep in mind that money answers all things. And we don't want to be wasting our wealth and transferring our wealth back to the people who gave us the money, because we're so obsessed with trying to conform with something that doesn't even last. Because at the end of the day, all this stuff is fleeting. I always like to talk about my boy Solomon, who had over 732 concubines, and he was not satisfied. And you know what he concluded? You know what? I could have had 1,000. There would have never been enough women. Never been enough. A dramatic example in the Bible, him having 732. I'm like, really, God? Like, could he not just have 7? Like 700, like
that's much. Solomon,
neglected. He couldn't get around quick enough. Okay, I'm sure of it. And so
everybody in Israel wanted that.
Like, did you get your rotation this year? I'm just curious. Inquire minds want to know.
And listen, guys,
allow that extreme example to show us as a demonstration. You can have as more than enough of anything in this natural world, you name it, the lashes, the money, the men, the whatever, the partner. There's nothing, as Tiara said, on this planet Earth that will be able to fill your cup. It takes the God and you understanding who your creator created you to be in the assignment and purpose on your life. And you lean into that like relentlessly and be a good steward over that. And say, okay, that's extra. That this is like the icing. If I have it, I have it. If I don't, I don't. But we cannot become. We gotta divorce this obsession with fabrication of beauty, in the words of Pastor Torrey Roberts.
That's good.
Yeah.
And we can go on and on and on. This has been definitely a great conversation on tonight. If you enjoy the conversation on tonight, please comment on the chat. We'll be back here, Jill and I, on next Sunday. And like she said, we might conquer the cost to conformity. If there are other topics that you all would like us to share as it pertains to being in the crossroad is being in the middle and trying to find what path works for you or what path is the right one for you. Because the one that may work for you may be a temporary solution versus the one that's a long-term solution. So please do put that in the chat. You can find me on all platforms, Treal Ravenel. I'll let the others share that as well. And we want to see you back here next Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want you to invite someone to come along the journey with you and be a part of conversations.
Tiara, where can people find you?
You can find me at Tiara Griffin, T-E-A-I-R-E, Griffin, Griffin, on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We working on some things coming out. Me and Maya working on a podcast. So this conversation will be continued on so many different aspects because there's so much missing from the podcast, YouTube space, and we wanted to be able to add to that individually and separately. So all things Tiara Griffin, you can find me on.
You can find me at Myeisha Lanise on Facebook and Instagram and on Threads. It's MYEISHALENESE.
Awesome. I feel like if I didn't also mention that, Myeisha mentioned that she's a youth leader and so many other things. And she's a creator. And one thing about creators, they often are multifaceted. And so she's also an amazing photographer and videographer. So if you're in the Charleston and surrounding areas and you need to get your brand identity together, right? You need to capture all of your amazing beauty. In essence, she can support you in that journey. And of course, my name is Jo Bulluck, and you can find me at Jo Bulluck all over social media. And also you can find us at BE Transform Networks, and that's on Facebook, IG, and YouTube. So until next time, it's been such a pleasure to have this conversation and to be able to serve. And I think each and every one that joined on today, we do not take your time here lightly. We really bless you and appreciate you for your presence. If you found value in this, we ask that you share this with a friend, whether you send it in a messenger, text message, maybe a family group text, say, hey, y'all, this was an interesting conversation. Go back and watch the replay. We would appreciate that. And again, if you also want to sow a seed today, please feel free to go to Cash App and drop a seed, 5, 10, 25, 50, 100, 1,000, whatever you feel led to do. We're grateful. Until next time, peace and blessings.